Hi, my name is Ron Renner. In this Interac tip presentation, we are going to look at creating exception reports. Exception reports can help you build business rules into your Interac system. For example, you may wish to know when in a given week a person receives more than 40 regular payroll hours. It can also provide for error checking. For example, an accounts payable transaction may have been entered incorrectly to a labor category or a labor general ledger account. They can advise you of unusual transactions, such as you might wish to know when a transaction has affected a fixed assets account. And they provide documentation for follow-up. They are created with design custom reports, and primarily we use line conditions for testing to isolate the exceptions. We execute them with print custom reports. Multiple exception reports can be put in a job stream, so you only have to execute one thing to print multiple exception reports. An important concept is custom reports, such as exception reports, can be run on transaction files which have just been journalized or imported. This lets you isolate problems before they're even edited. You may wish to use the enhanced interface for some applications, or it can be in a job stream. One case study, one client has 20 exception reports in a weekly job stream which examines payroll input. For example, it looks at over 40 regular hours, expense reimbursements through payroll which exceed $100, and weekly on-call pay. In their case, only one person is supposed to receive on-call pay for a weekend. If there are two in the list or no one on the list, then there's a problem which needs to be followed up upon. This client adds a new report as appropriate. I believe their exception report job stream started off with 3 or 4 exception reports, and as they've run into issues, they've added more. Reviewing issues at this stage is easiest. There are multiple types of exceptions. There are transaction exceptions, again, perhaps over 40 regular hours, and there's exceptions to the master file. For example, activity on a fixed asset general ledger account. Let's look at an example of creating one of each. Our first example is going to be based on transactions. We want a report which will show any employee with more than 40 regular hours in a given week. Time may have been entered or imported from multiple cards or from multiple sources, or time may have been entered to the wrong employee. This report is typically run when time entry is substantially complete or fully complete, and you can run it as many times as you wish. Our report design objective is one line per person with hours over 40. Okay, let's do it. We are in payroll, and we're going to create a report showing regular hours over 40. Set up maintenance, design custom report. We are in the enhanced interface. We see the full file name, and we will put a suffix on of EX1 for exception report number 1. Click create. We're making a report, and we'll begin adding columns. First, we will add our employee number. And since we are using transactions as our driving force, we will choose the employee number from the transaction file. The data in this file may have been entered in random order from random time cards and from imports and so forth. So we need to sort this file down by employee number. So we'll sort it, and we'll tell it to do a break whenever the employee number changes. We'll accept that column, and we'll see it starting to appear down below. Next, we will add our employee name. This comes from the master file. We'll choose employee name. Now, one of the little tricks is our ultimate goal is to have a report of totals. So we need to do something to push the employee name down to the total line. So we will click print here to do that. We'll accept the column. And our final column is going to be regular hours. So again, we are doing a report off transactions. We will scroll down until we see regular hours. Accept that. And we'll make no changes to it. We'll just accept it as it is. Next, we'll go to line conditions. And we're going to tell it that it's mandatory that column C below is greater than number 40. Next, we will go to page format and give it a title, over 40 hours. And since we want a report of totals only, we are going to select totals only. Now it's critical that we test on the total. We don't want to test on each individual line of items that the employee did. We want to test on the total. Click OK, and we're done designing our report. So we'll go to Print Custom Reports. We are going to run this off. We're going to specify our EX1 design, and we are going to run it off our A file. And if we had a suffix, we would fill it in. Click OK. And I'm going to tell it to run to the document manager so it comes right up to the screen. And here's our report. You can see there's one employee that has 41 hours. And we could do other things to this report. We could have overtime hours and other things also. And there's something else we would have to do to have the employee number print, but I wanted to keep this simple. Next, we're going to look at how to do something in General Ledger. In our second example, we're going to run a report off a master file. We are going to go to General Ledger and print a report which has activity in an account which normally does not have activity in a given month. This report is typically run after updating General Ledger, and you could design it to run off pre-updated transactions, but we want to look at a master file example. A report design objective is one line per flagged account which have activity. We are going to look at fixed assets for equipment and payroll garnishments, any activity in those accounts, and we want to see it on a report for review. Let's do it. We are in General Ledger, and the first thing we're going to do is go into the master file, set up a maintenance, account maintenance, and we're going to flag a couple of accounts to where they print on a report if they have activity. We will choose our fixed asset account equipment. We'll choose one of the miscellaneous user-defined codes, and we'll put a 1 here. These default zeros, and we're going to use field 7, and if there's a 1 in field 7, and if there's activity in the month, it will print on our report. So we'll flag this equipment account, and we'll also flag our garnishments account. There it is there. We'll put a 1 here. Again, we can put 1s in as many counts as we wish. We've done that. Now we'll go design our report. Set up maintenance, design custom report. We will call it EX1 for exception report 1. It's going to be a report. We'll add columns, and everything is going to come from the master file in this example. So we'll choose account number, accept it as it is. We will choose account title, accept it like it is, and we will choose our current activity right here, field 30. And we could change this to be current month if we wish to. Next, we'll go to page format. Give it a title. General Ledger exceptions. And perhaps we will double space it and shade the lines. That's all we need here. Next, we'll go to our line conditions, and we'll need 2 conditions. We will need to say it's mandatory that field 7, and we could choose that from the drop down, or just put in 7, is equal to number. I just pressed N, but you could choose number from the drop down, 1. And it's also mandatory that this time I'll use the drop down, that the current activity is not equal to number 0. So with mandatory selected, both of these conditions must be satisfied before it will print. It has to be a flagged account, and there has to be a non-zero balance in the current period. We'll choose OK and End. We will now go to Print Custom Reports, Reporting Inquiry, Print Custom Report. We will choose our new design. We could put a date in if we wish to, but it's okay as it is. We do not need to choose any transaction file because we've not used transactions in our design. Click OK. We will select Document Manager so that it runs to the screen. And here's our report. As you can see, both accounts which we flagged have activity in the current month. Perhaps valid things happened in these accounts. However, the intention here is to print a report which would show you things which are exceptions to what normally happens. Other exception report examples I've seen are one company runs an accounts payable exception report at month end showing all vendors now needing a W-9. Accounts receivable report showing customers with balances over 60 days. A job cost report with new cost on closed jobs, something that certainly needs following up upon. As you can see, there are many examples of ways to use exception reports. To summarize, exception reports save time. They allow you to incorporate your unique business rules into Interac, and they're pretty easy to create. Exception reports only advise you of issues. They do not reject or make any changes. If you are rusty on creating reports or job streams, consider some web-based training. For their investment in time, exception reports can make a significant difference in the overall efficiency of your system. If you feel this presentation has been of value, please like, subscribe, and click on the bell to be notified of future videos. This will help encourage future interactive videos. Other videos are available at www.tipsahoy.com/interac. Thanks for viewing.